What's going on? Boys, thanks to our patrons and Fiverr customers, subscribe to our Patreon free for behind the scenes stuff. Arm yourselves, life stuff. I had a spooky meeting today in which everyone was talking about the probability our nonprofit will last only another 6 months, if that. Now, I think it'll last longer, but the point behind the meeting was the fact we won't last. And I agree with that. We won't last. And I'm assuming we'll do a conclusion video once that comes to pass. But I want to use this video to talk a bit about how it feels working in a nonprofit or what you do. The first thing is you would expect people to be grateful, and they almost never are. In fact, it's not just a matter of ungratefulness, because if it were just that, that's something you can deal with, because an ungrateful person doesn't harm you in any way or make your job more difficult. And if you're going into nonprofits with the idea that you'll save the world, or people will love you, or you'll be such a good person, get that out of your head. Both for principle reasons and for expectations reasons. Charity is thankless. Organizing to do anything positive is thankless. And the first time your hand gets bitten when you're trying to do something positive, you're likely to feel bad. You'll also need to deal with the sort of person who, and this is why I hate the fact people are able to have opinions. People with all these opinions about what you should be doing or how you should be doing things, and not one of them will ever want to volunteer. In nonprofits, you attract a lot of old people, old wealthy people rather, or wealthy people in general, people who don't have to work, have never needed to work, and don't like working, frankly, who will show up and decide, now it's time to save the world. Now it's time to be a good person. And how do you do that? Not by helping anybody, not by being a good person, but rather by finding the people who are doing the work and then trying to order them around because you're such a good person, your ideas alone are enough. And they never have any idea how anything works. Even when you're trying to be cooperative with them, they don't understand the fact there's a process to things, and the best you can do within your organization's bylaws and legally isn't the equivalent of dropping every single thing you're doing to do exactly what they say you should do. And that's another thing. You come to me with ideas. Okay. But they're always just ideas. There is never a proposal, a formal proposal. And worse, there's not even... people almost never even have a step-by-step, an informal step-by-step for maybe how you might do what they are demanding you do. These people believe things just happen. And that's the other thing, even if you wanted to carry out this idea of theirs, because not all ideas are bad, but they want their idea carried out in exactly the way they imagine it, but when you ask them to describe how they imagine it, or what steps one might need to take to bring about their idea in this perfect form, they get angry with you. It doesn't compute. The idea of work, or even the fact things just can't happen, is alien to them, and they take it as a threat. What they want is their ego affirmed or massaged. They want the affirmation they are such a good person, they are such a smart person, without needing to contribute in any way. And when you ask them even just to tell you how to do what they're thinking, they take it as a personal attack, and they get ugly quickly. Recently, one person demanded we do this thing. And this was a person who has made demands in the past, and they're always talking about how helpful they are, how much they want to help. I've given them 2 opportunities to help. First one, they didn't respond at all. Second one, they didn't respond at all, but I later found out because the dumbass told me this person felt they were above helping in this way. And this next time, this person is making all these demands, and I explain, if you want these things to happen, here's what you can do. You can email me a list of your suggestions, and I will present them to the board at the next board meeting, because I don't get to make any decisions on my own. Everything we do is a board decision. And it's like nothing I said computed. And then they said, again, well, I think you should do this, and you should do it for this reason, and this reason, and this reason, and this reason, which they had just said. So I said again, email me your suggestions and your reasoning too, and I will present it at the next board meeting, because I don't have the authority to make that decision. Everything we do is a board decision. And then they did it again. I don't know why I'm doing the they thing, it's she. She started doing the guilting, shaming thing. Well, do you think it's responsible that you aren't doing this? I mean, does that sound reasonable to you? Which is one I love. When you're dealing with these shitheads, you learn certain tactics, and I swear to God, it's like these people trained under a cunt mentor. I've heard the, does this sound reasonable to you, a number of times from every sort of fuckhead a trust fund can shit out. And it was like it didn't compute in her head that she can stick a gun in my face and I still don't have the authority to make that decision on my own. She could not understand that. And then I think it was that afternoon, I had been working on something. This is not anything our nonprofit covers. Someone I knew came in and said they needed help, or she needed help, repairing this thing. I love the vacuum cleaner example. We'll call it a vacuum cleaner for these reasons, and she can't do anything about it. And because this is outside the scope of what our nonprofit does, I mean, in nonprofits you end up wearing lots of hats, and lots of helmets too, because when you say wearing many hats, that implies you're doing many things within your organization. In nonprofits, you wear many helmets because you end up doing shit outside your organization. This was one of those, but it would cost some money. Not a ton of money, but money. So I took repairing this thing on as a personal project. I spent my money on it, I spent my time on it, and the repairs were going terribly because I'm not a technically minded person, and it's obvious that it's not going well. But I'm trying, and I think we'll be able to repair this. It's just gonna be a little bit shit. And this fucker came in, another person who needed help. Everybody needs help. And I'm working on this thing, and the first thing she says is, well, that doesn't look like it's going well. And it was not in a jokey way. People in this area have a cunty sense of humor, and it's hard to explain. It's as if everyone did the shitty bullying, teasing sense of humor. So even when it's right quotes, it's still shitty, but you can tell when someone is being shitty in what they think is a positive way. This was not that. This was ugly. And I'm stunned, and not necessarily in a pearl clutchy way, but in a, like, getting zapped with a taser way. You fucking dummy. You need something, and that's what you open with. And because I'm surprised, I start explaining what I'm doing, and she interrupts me and tells me it doesn't matter, and then starts explaining everything she needs. All for free, not paying anything, not contributing anything, just, hey, what you're doing looks like shit, now give me stuff. And these people are never decent. They never have the sense or the courtesy to let me know ahead of time when they're coming in, especially when they need more shit. And what she needed wasn't a lot, but it it would take a chunk of time to get her what she needed and to do the paperwork. And if I were in the middle of something pressing, someone would get fucked over. And that one bothered me. People are just mouths. People just want things. They don't contribute anything, and they feel they're owed free shit because they suck, as if falling below the bar entitled them to things, as if failure were a win condition that they should be lauded for. And I don't normally get actually political on this channel, but I hate, I don't know what you'd call it, but non-contributive welfare. Getting shit without having to do anything at all. Not only because that's bullshit, but also because it breeds a worthless sort of person. The sort of person you don't want to have in your society. People disrespect things because they feel no ownership over anything or no responsibility over anything. Their expectation becomes getting shit without giving anything. And I'm not suggesting exploiting people by very well taking advantage of them the way you could, making them do ridiculous work for the smallest amounts of things. Rather, I mean the smallest amounts of work for whatever it is they need, but something. So you don't allow the expectation to become getting something for nothing, or getting something by doing negative things. Because then there's zero respect, there's zero locusts. You train people to strip institutions or support systems to the bone because they feel it's their right to, and then they're angry and confused when there's nothing left, so they go fuck up something else. So in nonprofits, you're dealing with two forms of the worst sort of people you can deal with. On the upper level side, the wealthy people side, people who have lived in such abundance for so long, they are unable to comprehend how anything works, but they feel entitled to throw their weight around because they have money without actually contributing anything. And then on the lower side, people who, quotes, need shit, their profession is parasitism. They are professional parasites, right? Where a normal person would learn a skill that would allow them to contribute to society, or even to the economy if you want to get shittier. Anyway, the ability to produce, these people's profession, their skill, is how to get the most while doing nothing. Or actually, in many cases, by making the situation worse. You're sandwiched between sorts of people who want to do nothing and get everything. And actually, on this poorer side of things, ironically, maybe that comes from living in abundance also, but with extra steps. And then you, as the nonprofit, or employees of the nonprofit, certain board members of the nonprofit, you're stuck in the middle, but you're, quotes, normal people. And the real difficulty is, even under the best conditions, normal people have a hard time getting along and coordinating and getting anything done. And that's under ideal conditions. When you make those conditions worse, it all feels pointless. Not to mention the fact most nonprofits are used to devious tax avoiding ends by larger for-profit institutions or foundations. But that's a different story. Well, okay, that is a different story, but there is a... We talked about that a bunch of times in the past, but there is a new spin on this. That psychopath, or one of the psychopath dudes I was talking about, who is actually textbook sociopath, I knew he had some kind of end game even before I knew anything about ASPD. And ASPD doesn't really have anything... Well, it kind of does, but not for what we're talking about. Anyway, I knew he wasn't doing charitable shit just to be doing charitable shit. He ended up getting his wife a job a leech job in that organization. And I don't know how much she gets paid, but she has executive in her title, so it's got to be a lot. Or not a lot, actually, because that... Well, no, that nonprofit ended up coming into a lot more money, deviously. So maybe she is getting paid a lot. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. The point is, you see what I'm talking about. Nonprofits are there for tax fuckery, for nepotism leeching, all this shit. If you want to donate to a nonprofit, because work does get done in some nonprofits, it's not a huge shitfest. If you want to donate, I strongly recommend you donate materials related to that nonprofit, so that money can't just disappear. Or volunteer and use your time volunteering to get a sense for whether or not this nonprofit is legit, and then choose to donate money maybe. But even in legit nonprofits, I wouldn't recommend that. Donate materials or donate your time. Don't just give $20 and pat yourself on the back feeling like you're a good person. Right? That money is probably going into some cocksucker contractor's pocket for some shit project that will never go anywhere. But we're going off on a tangent. What bothers me is the fact... everything bothers me. But recently it's been the fact the people you're helping, or by helping people, you embolden them to treat you like dog shit. Because they feel they're allowed to. It's their right to. Entitlement is a word that gets overused, but I don't know another way to say it. I've sat here thinking about it. They are so entitled. They feel so entitled to shit. It's a basic assumption to them, like oxygen. Ergo, they can treat the person assigned to give them their shit however they want to. Like it's your pleasure to serve them. And the painful thing is it could be your pleasure to serve them. But when this sort of person is the standard for what you're dealing with, it's not your pleasure at all. I don't like helping you. I wish the worst on you. Because you've wished the worst on me, you've done the worst to me. When I've done nothing but help you, some of these people I've given them priority treatment above other people. But the better you treat someone, the worse they feel entitled to treat you. That's a lesson I think you can apply to everything, and you should learn it as early as you can. If you haven't learned it yet, you are in for a rude awakening. Even if you should be treating somebody really well, any situation, don't do it. Or at least do it carefully, in a limited fashion, and make them contribute in some way. Because if you don't, you will live to regret it. And then, we've already talked in the past about how dreadful democracy is, how bureaucracy and voting ruins the ability to get much of anything done. Oh, fuck. And local governments are exactly like this, too. We talked about doing this... God, was it... It must have been last year, right? Everybody going and doing their city council bullshit, getting involved in local civic trash. Well, I started doing that on and off. Local governments work exactly the same way nonprofits do. So, maybe if you want to get involved in local government, aside from going to your council meetings and seeing how the sausage is made, some of it anyway, nonprofits might be a good start there because they're operated exactly the same way. I also didn't realize how criminal and mafia-ish local governments are. It's popular for retard YouTubers to tell you to get involved in your local government. That's the way you can make a real difference. No. I mean, you can try, but don't go into it expecting to accomplish anything. Rather, go into it expecting to make lots of enemies, cost lots of money and create problems for yourself, probably criminal problems for yourself, because cops will follow you around if you run your mouth. It's shitty, but that's not what we're talking about today. Rather, I wanted to self soothe by imagining a better way of doing things, especially in smaller organizations. Much better to set a goal and let everyone loose. Keep tabs, keep everyone updated, sure, but do everything you can to get that goal accomplished. Or even set some boundaries to stay within as you're trying to accomplish this goal, but if every single thing needs to be a decision, nothing will ever get done. And that's one of the reasons I'm trying to detach myself emotionally from this a bit, because I'm not free to do everything I know I can do to make our organization succeed, and that's not my fault, even if people treat you like it's your fault. And I caught myself a few days ago, it might have been a few weeks ago now, actually, a couple weeks ago, running through imaginary job interviews. Knock on wood, one of the things I've had pretty consistent success with in life has been job interviews. For some reason. It's probably YouTube, actually. It's another reason you should experiment with YouTube. Get good at tangentizing your ideas to simple statements or questions. Anyway, for no particular conscious reason, I caught myself going through imaginary job interviews, and that's probably what it was. Feeling like I'll need to find a new job here relatively soon. Which is sad, because as many negative things as I have to say about my job and the nonprofit sphere, I like the work I do because it makes me stronger, makes me faster, it makes me more resilient, and it comes with a little bit of prestige I can feel good about myself for. Realistically, unless anti-charities exist, I see myself continuing to work in the nonprofit sector just because of how much weird and interesting stuff goes on. But today, while I was tweaking today, I bought a little hamster wheel walking pad. It goes up to 7 miles per hour, and it's Chinese, and it's shit, and it can sit on an 8-degree incline, and I walked. There wasn't a lot going on today, and I knew this meeting was coming, and I was tweaking to shit, so I just walked a lot. I was thinking, what do I actually do? Because with my job, there are dead periods, and then there are hyperactive periods, and there is little in between. And every day you have no idea what sort of day it's going to be. And the bootlicker answer is to say, or when you're thinking about these down periods, you should be inventing work for yourself to do. But the issue with that, because that's something I wouldn't mind doing, I like being proactive with things. I can't even apply for grants without approval, even small grants. So during your downtime, there is not a lot to do. Now, what I've been doing has been Fiverr work or trying to stay up to date with my Patreon notes, stuff like that. Or previously I was lifting, but during the move, I have no idea why my arm still hasn't healed. I'm taking a multivitamin now, and I'm probably going to start taking more vitamins, and hopefully that'll help. Still hasn't healed. I mean, I can use my arm fine, but when it comes to moving hefty shit or gripping hard, it's no good, which is frustrating, so I've been walking, sometimes reading. But what do I do during my uptime? Well, you're a firefighter. You're putting out fires that you have. I mean, you're inventing solutions to problems you weren't ever expecting you'd encounter. How could you plan for something like this? But with the regular shit I do, I've narrowed it down. A big part of what I do is taking what we already do or identifying things we'll need to be doing and then building a way to do those things and then incrementally making them faster, making them cheaper, making them produce better results, and also making them more trackable. Tracking is super important in nonprofits. So the main part of my job, or the day-to-day part of my job, is finding the most efficient way to do something. And then firefighting, which keeps you on your toes, and dealing with people, which really keeps you on your toes. People play games. We've been talking about games a lot recently. I've gotten okay at some games in some spheres, but you people wouldn't believe you people wouldn't believe how deep some people's games run. And for the reasons they play these games, these shitty, ugly games, because the reason you think they'll be doing this shitty, manipulative shit will have nothing to do. There will be no logical chain leading up to their doing this. As in, a butterfly flapped its wings in Africa, so now this woman is being a cunt to you. People make zero sense. And it's taken me 3 years, but that's finally making sense to me. That, sorry, my body just tried to exterminate itself thinking about people and the things they do. That there is no sense in people. And the idea there is an illusion. Anything anyone does, you need to assume is a hostile action. And I mean, it could be the friendliest appearing things, even the most helpful things, people who actually contribute. You need to think of those as hostile actions, because even if they aren't hostile right now, even if they are doing these things out of the pure kindness of their heart, these things will be fed into a case against you eventually. You need to be ready to be thrown under the bus by anyone at any time for any reason. And you could look at everything they do, and that will show up in their case for throwing you under the bus, but you need to understand why you think they're doing it or why they could be doing it probably has nothing to do with anything you think. And it's important to know that because it helps you understand their turning on you is inevitable and unpredictable from your point of view. So everything you see, everything that's on the table, all your interactions with them, all your dealings with them, even their dealings with other people, all that stuff will be used against you, but that's not why they're doing what they're doing. And you'll probably never see or know why they're doing what they're doing. Just know it's inevitable and you can't do anything about it. So at all times be preparing. And that turns you into a hyper-vigilant, mistrustful person, but that's the sort of person you need to be if you want to get anything done in life. What a shame it is we can't 100% complete or achieve 100% completion in life all alone. I think we'll cut it here. The video's gone on long enough. You want a crash course in life? Get a job with a nonprofit. Preferably a smaller one in which you can't be expected just to show up and do your job. As overall negative as my job is, and as bad as it can get sometimes, because to me, there's nothing more terrifying than knowing your future is outside your control, and if you're in a nonprofit and a nonprofit employee, that's what your future is. I mean, at least with one boss, one person decides whether you're employed or not. With a nonprofit, it's a group of people. That's the worst part of it to me. That is the worst part of it that makes me hate the job in no positive spun way. Knowing at any moment you could be canned by committee for reasons outside your control. It's not just one person you're worrying about, it's a few. There's no, well, I mean, there is a positive spin to that, actually. It forces you to build up some anxiety tolerance, even though that sort of anxiety is hard to build up a tolerance for. But otherwise, as negative as my job can be, I do like working in the nonprofit sector quite a lot because it keeps things interesting. Makes you harder, makes you sharper, and it does keep you occupied. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.